I just thought of something to talk about. Now I hope Dad doesn't call back, but maybe I'll do a two-parter. If he does, then it'll be this natural break. I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story that I've been working on. It's like three parts to the story. Let's see if I can remember. All right. Part one, I was 5. Part two, I was 13. Part three, I was 17. All right. 5, 13, 17. Let's see how this goes. I was living with this guy, and we were traveling. Well, we were visiting some friends of his, and I believe she was there. And these are friends of my dad's, and I just remember coming in the house, adults chattering, "You're a kid." I was 5 years old, and adults wander off to wherever they're wandering. Maybe they're showing them around, giving the tour. I don't know if we'd been there a while or if we had just walked in, but I look in the other room. I guess it was like the dining room, and I see this gorgeous white Himalayan dog, Himalayan husky, just the soft long mane, just white, sitting in a corner, and I, you know, allured by the beauty, wander. I just picture myself kind of hobbling and leaning and reaching. And the next thing I remember is screams and blood, and being hauled to a bathroom sink, I believe. Just blood, blood, blood. Panicked adult voices. I was reaching, a young child walking and reaching, and the dog lunged and latched onto my face, bit me across the face. Well, I don't know if it latched on, but one tooth went right here. I think that's the right side. I think it's even visible. Let's see. I don't know if you can see. There's a scar. I don't know how visible that is. Maybe, yeah, right there. I think that's it. So, it, like right on the bone. The tooth could have gone in the temple or in the eye. It could have gone in the temple or the eye. I could have been blind in one eye, or who knows what would happen if it went in the temple. I don't know. Tooth, that long, could go in deep. And so I was rushed to the hospital and got stitched up. I ruined that evening, or the dog ruined that evening, and the two of us ruined that evening for those adults. But from that moment on, I had this deathly fear of dogs. Big dogs, right? Little dogs, yap, yap, whatever. But a dog, large, medium to large dogs, just a deathly fear. And dogs can read that fear. And so it was exacerbated the situation. Whenever I was around large dogs, they could sense the fear and they would play off on it. And so it would just, it compounded, so I had I had a fear. I guess we all have fears, and some people don't have fears until they're faced with a great height and realize they have a fear or something. But I had a definite fear of large dogs. Fast forward, I'm 13 years old, and I had moved in with this guy. It's a part of the story we'll get to eventually, but the two of us had moved in when I think it was 12 going on 13, right before my 13th birthday, and she was had probably just turned 14. So we moved in with my dad. around the time I was 13, I think. We had some friends that lived up the road. We lived up in the country, this gorgeous country road, and we had these friends that lived. Actually, he's mentioned him, Lewis. He's mentioned him in a couple of the previous segments. Who lived in this place up the road, and we would go visit. And the guy was an artist, is an artist, and I just remember loving looking at his paintings, loving where he lived. He had lived up the hill from a creek. We'd go hiking down there. Just a great place to hang out. I was a kid. I was a teenager, and everybody else, I don't know who else was with. They decided to go home, and I said, "Hey, can I just hang out here a while longer? I'll just walk home." And it was like 2 miles, but just one country road at night, full moon out. And they said, "Fine." Right, so hung out. I don't know how long. I don't know if I was told, "Okay, you've been here long enough, kid, time to go," or if I naturally figured it out on my own. I don't know. At 13, if I had those sensibilities, decided I'm going to walk home. So I head out. Beautiful, beautiful night, moonlit night. Walking down this windy country road, and then there's this straightaway, and it's maybe a half to 3/4 of a mile from where we live down the road. And there's one area where there's trees growing over the road. Trees, can't see my hand up there. Growing over the road. Well, that makes for a dark tunnel because the moonlight only shines where there's no shade, and so it's this dark tunnel I have to go through. And I remember that on this road lives a dog, because I would walk that road during the daytime, and sometimes the dog was loose, and here I am about to enter this dark tunnel, and there's just this speck of light at the other end, and that's my goal. I got to get through this tunnel. I just remember having that fear and trepidation before stepping into the tunnel, and I walk in, and one foot after the other. It's flat ground. I'm walking straight ahead, and then, sure enough, in the darkness, and I swear it must have been 5 feet away. It was that close. My worst fear expounded. Not only am I afraid of big dogs, but here I am in the middle of the night in the darkness, alone, and I can't see it, but it can see me. It can smell me, and there I am, and it can smell the fear. I'm certain of it. Hello? Hello? Is anybody there? Light comes on. I just called out, and the light comes on, and whatever the dog's name was, the owner's like, get out here. Just this relief comes over me, and I don't remember the rest of the night. Clearly I walked home and got home, but that was the moment that I overcame that fear. I distinctly recall, like, that moment, I did the right thing. It was instinct, I guess. I could have panicked and turned and run and been chased down and mauled. I think it might have been a Rottweiler or a pit bull too. It was one of those kind of dogs. But the owner was home. I called out, and my fear of big dogs, never ever again. I have no problems with dogs at all, ever. Any dog. Okay, fast forward to I was 17. 17 years old. I'm in English class, like a creative writing class, and I'm, we're tasked to write a story, to come up with a story, and I had a story brewing, and I fleshed it out. And what that story was is, I took these two experiences and used them to create it's a science fiction trope. I can't say it's original, but uh, I was 17. I'm like, what if the events in our lives impact our DNA and can be passed on, right? What if that's how certain traits are passed on or whatever? And I thought, well, you know, scientists say there's more than four dimensions. The fourth being time. There are multiple dimensions in the universe, and what if one of them is genetic wormhole? Genetic time travel, that you could travel through your your DNA ancestry into the future and experience something that one of your descendants experiences. And so those two events, being attacked by the dog, which has left the impression on me emotionally, and then that moment in the darkness, being confronted by my greatest fear, that's where, in the story that I wrote when I was 17, the creative writing, that's where the transition happens. You watch science fiction and there's something happens and you go through this time machine or wormhole or whatever, and that darkness, that moment. And I travel to the future to one of my descendants, and he has to rescue these people from this beast that is attacking their village or whatever, and he ends up triumphing over the beast. And there's all these other science fiction tropes that are part of the story, and then he comes back to that moment and has overcome that fear and lives happily ever after. And so that's the first time I've told that sequence of events. Those are all true events. It kind of was part of the inspiration of my creativity. That's the creativity, I guess, that you're born with. That's how in my life I began thinking through stories and structuring them, and then trying to come up with something interesting. This is the fourth segment. I need to come up with a name for this one. Dad hasn't called back yet. All of this is waiting on Dad. I think I'm going to cut this off, unless the phone rings. And he may have fallen asleep. And we'll see. I don't know if I was supposed to. Maybe I was supposed to call. No, I'm not going to call him. If he calls me, great. I didn't miss a call. All right, thanks for listening. What do I call this? Taming the Beast? You already know what it's called if you're watching. So what am I calling it? Tell me. What did I call it? To Tame the Beast? Is that what you said? A beast tamed? Oh, that's good. Thank you. Thank you for telling me. Don't steal my idea, any of you creative people out there. It's my idea. It's documented here. So, if you take me to court using this video, see? No, I've actually recorded. I've audio recorded. Oh no, I think I've done some. I've told versions of this story on video as I kind of practice storytelling. I don't know how. You tell me how that was, but Well, if you listen this far, it must have been interesting. So I guess it wasn't interesting because I know you're not listening, except you, Mom, and Michelle.